So we're going to, this Dharma Talk is going to be taken from this book, Tibetan Meditation. We're going to have some discussion as well as utilize some of the practices in the book. And it's just a really accessible book as far as whether you're a beginner at meditation or whether you're more experienced and you're just trying to bring some more energy to your meditation practice. And yeah, so first I was muted, but we were going into just a brief sitting. So everyone just get comfortable in their seat. So you can bring your hands to your knees. You can elongate your spine. You can bring your chin towards your chest a little bit. The eyes are partly open. And breath is through both nose and mouth. Now just allow your face to relax, allow your eyes to relax. Your shoulders, your arms and hands, and your legs, feet. You can lightly notice your breath as it moves in and out. Now just allow a positive intention to arise from your heart or from your mind. You can either allow something to come up spontaneously, or you can bring in something intentional that you'd like to focus on for this class. Now allow that intention to fill your whole body. Maybe it starts from your heart and then it expands throughout your body, maybe even past your body. Now just let that positive intention just fade back where it came from. You can start to come back to your breath, come back to this talk. Maybe stretch your body a little bit. And yeah, so we'll get started. And you can just let that intention sort of inform your experience of this Dharma talk, and also your experience of the rest of the evening too. So this book, Tibetan Meditation, obviously it's focused on meditation, and Rinpoche goes through many different aspects of meditation. I'm only going to focus on a few in this class because we only have an hour. Um, Although I will also have a workshop going deeper into this content later in the month if people are interested. I'll give more information about that later. And some aspects that I want to focus on are first, what is meditation? I think that there's lots of different iterations of meditation in today's day and age, particularly in more like New Age type meditation practices. So I'm just curious to ask everyone, either in person or on Zoom, what is meditation to you, or what comes up? How do you think of meditation? If anybody wants to jump in.
Stop in your usual thoughts.
Okay, yeah. So stopping your usual thoughts. And what do you mean by usual thoughts?
Well, the things you think about during the day that you have to do, and um, whatever is going through your mind, you kind of slow it down and relax, and yeah, slow it down. I don't know if stop was the right word.
Yeah, Van, you have a comment.
Along the same lines, I was thinking of like just being more aware of my thoughts. Like usually my thoughts go on with very little. They're just going, and then when I sit in meditation, I can just be much more aware that I'm thinking about those things, or those thoughts are arising, and then also more and more just relaxation, just feeling very relaxed and at ease.
Hmm. Yeah, so what I'm hearing from both of y'all, or some things that I'm hearing from both of y'all, are relaxation is one, slowing down, and being aware. And I think all of those aspects are very relevant. Um, and yeah, it's interesting because I do think that sometimes we do feel like in meditation that we have to stop something, or we're trying to make something stop. Um, but what's really interesting is that Rinpoche in this book talks a lot about how we're integrating everything. So everything in our experience can be a part of the meditation. And I think that does kind of take some pressure off of us, like, oh, I don't have to stop anything or make anything happen. Um, and yeah, so some important aspects that I want to touch on as far as how we can what can help us contact meditation, or understand meditation, is for one that it's not something that's outside of us. So I think sometimes it can feel like, oh, well, meditation is like I need to attain this state. Like I'm going to sit down and then I'm going to go somewhere else, like attain something else. But this book really tells us that it's actually already a part of our nature, and it's more that relaxation, like Dan was saying and like Van was saying, so your names rhyme, that helps us actually contact it. Um, and like I was saying, there's no need to try to accomplish a goal. So I think that's another part of meditation is sometimes we sit down and then we feel like, okay, now I need, like, I'm gonna get there, or like we have maybe some image of what our meditation should be. And then we try to achieve that image. But when we do that or try to do that, we're still staying within the realm of concepts, or our thoughts. And as long as we're staying within the realm of concepts, we're not going beyond to a place where we can really contact that nourishing aspect of meditation. But instead, we're limiting ourselves essentially. And yeah, like I was mentioning, there's nothing is rejected, nothing is excluded. So even if we have, a thought that we don't like, we can let that thought be, for instance. But even if we have the thought of, I need to stop this thought, we can let that be too. So we don't need to push anything away or reject anything. It's all part of this experience. And it certainly isn't, it's not that it shouldn't be there, but we can include it within our meditation. So I'm going to read a quote from the book. So this quote says, "Meditative awareness is like completely open space, but not space as we commonly understand it, because awareness is not a place, nor does it have any particular form or shape. This space is neither outside the body nor inside the mind. It is not mental or physical, and yet, at the same time, it is a deep, integrated sense of stillness, openness, and balance, which is the experience of meditation itself." So, talking about this open space, so it's kind of like all these thoughts and all these other things are showing up within this space of awareness. And so how do we loosen up the tightening around the experiences that are coming up and instead allow ourselves to relax into that open space? And so how do we begin with meditation? What are some good ways to begin? Does anybody have thoughts on that? Good ways to start?
Sit down.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, step one, sit down. Yeah, and I think that's actually really important because you also need to find a way to be comfortable while you're sitting. You need to find a space that is comfortable for you, that reminds you of meditating. Like if we're just meditating on our bed where we sleep every day, we might feel tempted to just fall asleep. But if we find a space that maybe has like some tankas or has an altar or something, then it can remind us, oh, this is where I meditate, and remind us to come to the cushion. Also, in the book, it's recommended to start with practices that resonate with you, that are relevant to you. I don't know about you, but I know there's been times where I've worked with a practice where it's just like I'm just struggling with it so much. And because of that, I feel like I'm not really able to get the juice of the practice. And so it's totally fine to just let those practices go and work with practices that do something for you, that resonate with you, and that maybe even you enjoy. There can be a sense of enjoyment with meditation as well. Another important aspect to remember is that we're proceeding very gradually. Meditation is something that develops over time. It's a step-by-step process. It's not something where you sit down one time and you're going to have some wonderful experience. Maybe that happens to some people, but generally for most people, it is a gradual, step-by-step thing where you need to commit to it regularly to see the progress. You need to keep your motivation strong. If you start to lose motivation, then once again, you might say, oh, I don't need to meditate, or oh, I'm just going to fall asleep instead. But if we have that motivation and that willpower that's driving us, then it can keep us focused on that sense of commitment and regularity. And yeah, with the regularity, that can mean establishing a daily practice. So telling yourself that you're going to meditate at a certain time every single day, and then really committing to that. Part of it being, creating that space that is very welcoming for meditation. in that you feel good when you sit down in that space and you feel ready to meditate, and there is that sense of enjoyment with it. Okay, and so a big part of this book is actually talking about the attitudes that we bring to meditation. What attitudes are actually helpful for helping us commit and sustain our meditation? And Rinpoche talks about a lot of different attitudes in here, but I'm only going to mention just a few that stood out to me. The first one being developing spiritual confidence. So can anybody tell me what they think that means? Like, what does spiritual confidence mean?
That the practice you're going to do is going to move you ahead spiritually.
Yeah, I definitely think that's for sure one way of interpreting it. That it's something that is progressing you in a way that's different than like our worldly progress. You know, like our worldly progress is like, okay, I made this much money this month, and that means I can buy this thing, and I'm measuring my progress in that way. But you're right that spiritual progress or spiritual confidence is the confidence that we get from the progress that we make on a more internal level. And it's not the same kind of tangible type of progress. It's different. Um, it's also different from worldly confidence, or like what I would call worldly confidence, of being like, oh, I'm confident because I have these things, or I'm good at certain things, or whatever kind of um, external aspects that can give us that sense of confidence. But all those things, as we know, are constantly fluctuating and changing. There's no way to hold on to those things. There's no way to be sure that that will stay forever. Um, and it's kind of like a flimsy form of confidence. When we really look at that type of confidence, it's more flimsy, it's more changeable. But spiritual confidence really is that confidence we get from developing our meditation practice and from getting to a place where we really deeply trust ourselves, where there is this inner confidence um, that comes from our experience, that comes from touching our true nature, and comes from releasing these more worldly attachments. It's kind of like when maybe a bunch of people have a strong opinion about something, but you know in your heart that it's not right for you. And you don't feel swayed by them because you're so sure of your inner guidance. You're so sure of that inner confidence that you don't get swayed by these things that are happening outside of you. So that's one aspect of like an attainment of spiritual confidence. That we learn to believe and trust in ourselves and our experience rather than what we see on the outside. So another important attitude or aspect of meditation to keep in mind is remembering impermanence. Kind of relates to the worldly confidence thing of things are always changing. We can't rely on what's happening in the external world. We can't rely on our health. We can't rely on people being here forever. We can't rely on, being in the same financial position forever. All these things have that potential for change and for being in flux. And so because of that, it really is to me a wake-up call that it's important to come to our cushion and it's important to meditate. Because if we spend all our time focused on the external gains of the world outside of us, we will eventually be let down. We will eventually be disappointed. But if we spend our time working on our spiritual progress and working on our meditation, it will never disappoint us. Obviously we'll have challenges, we'll have setbacks, but the progress we make there is the type of progress that really can nourish us and guide us in life. So this quote here says, "To be born a human being is a very rare privilege, and it is important that we appreciate our lives and take advantage of this opportunity for human existence." So just the fact that we're born as humans in these bodies and we're healthy enough to practice and we're in, a somewhat comfortable life where we're not at risk necessarily the way maybe some other people are in certain places. We really need to recognize like our good fortune and that we should take this opportunity to turn to our spiritual practice. And then the last attitude for meditation that I want to focus on, which is going to move us into a practice, is our hearts, like opening our hearts. So that's another important aspect of meditation, is because if our hearts are closed, then that's what leads us into states of being where we are constantly grasping outside of ourselves because we're not connected to our own inner nourishment. We're in a state where we're looking outside of ourselves for that nourishment, like whether it's food or, buying stuff on Amazon or, fun experiences. Like we're always trying to seek that emotional, like those emotional thrills which is what we tend to think is happiness. But if we open our hearts, that's actually what brings that inner happiness, that inner nourishment that can nurture us without there needing to be any external correspondence. It can just come naturally. Rinpoche says the basic teachings of the spiritual path arise from within our hearts. And if our hearts are open, all experience appears naturally beautiful. So that sounds, it's a pretty strong sentiment, I think, that no matter what's going on outside of you, if your heart is open, it can appear naturally beautiful. I think that can be hard to see in contact in our daily experience, especially in this day and age. But I think it's something worth experimenting with to see, okay, if I do contact my heart, how does that change things? Do I notice any shift there? So that does bring me into this practice, which is called listening to the tones of your heart. So everybody can just get comfortable in their meditation position, wherever they're on a chair or cushion, doesn't matter. And once again, just allow some relaxation. Allow your face to relax, your eyes to relax. Maybe your shoulders come down. Now just begin by listening to your feelings and thoughts and to your inner dialogue. So whatever's going on, just begin by listening to that. Pay attention to all that is happening within you. At first, you may feel dull and cold. It's possible that your heart might be tight. You may have difficulty feeling anything at all. But just very gently and skillfully, start to listen to your feelings. Now listen to your heart, literally the beating of your heart. Usually we are not even aware of how fast or slow our hearts are beating. As you listen, you will find yourself becoming much more relaxed and joyful. So just starting to listen to the beating of your heart. Listen still more carefully. Sometimes you can even hear a sound within the silence. This is not the rushing sound that you sometimes hear when your body is releasing tension, but the sound of your thoughts speaking when your senses are very quiet and you are relaxed and concentrating. Then it is possible to hear different tones, each tone having a specific vibration. To experience these, you must develop your concentration and awareness until you are completely attentive and open. So continuing just to listen more carefully to the beating of your heart. And that if there's no specific sound or noise, that's totally fine. We're just focusing on that awareness, a very gentle awareness. I'll just start to gently let that go. Coming back to your breath. And just letting go of the practice altogether. And just want to see if anyone wants to offer, like, they notice anything from after that practice, if anything happened for them. Yeah.
I had a really hard time hearing my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I mean, it's such a soft, like, I felt almost like more like I feel it than I hear it. Any other thoughts? Or any thoughts about why might working with the heart be important for a meditation practice? And there's no right answer. I don't have an answer, but I'm just curious what people think.
Well, this is not so profound, but focusing on the heart and realizing it's beating constantly, and if you ever hear your own, blood pressure beating, that really brings home, the fact that we're not going to last forever. This poor little heart constantly working can't go on forever. It's too much work.
Yeah.
So it reminds us of our mortality.
Yeah. I think that's very true, and like almost seeing it as well, and one what comes up for me is like appreciation for our heart for doing that. And yeah, that sense of coming back to the impermanence, like this is our opportunity to practice while we still have this beating heart. So I think that's a really important insight. So you can stay with this, stay with your heart as we continue on. But we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about the self-image. So, yeah, so the self-image obviously is pretty much our biggest obstacle when it comes to meditation, I would say, in my experience. And Rinpoche talks a lot about the self-image in this book. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit because obviously it's a very complex topic and requires, a really high level of awareness to really see how the self-image functions. But we can start where we're at, we can start where we're at to try to understand how it is showing up in our experience. So I'll start with a quote. Our natural state of being is awareness, an awareness which is not of anything, but which is an all-encompassing state of pure experience. So this quote is essentially telling us that that we're not limited to our self-image, but that our actual natural state of being is this expansive awareness, and that the self-image merely is included within that. It's hard to see that on a daily basis because most of the time we just feel like I am this, like the thoughts I have, these are my thoughts. I'm doing these things, you know, it's just very habituated to the way our minds work. But it's important to recognize that that the self-image is actually not a genuine part of us. It's another manifestation of awareness. It's not really who we are. And we can start to very slowly, I would say, chip away at the control that it has over us. So the way that it normally appears in our experience is that our ordinary consciousness divides our perception into subject and object. So we have this feeling of, I am the subject, I'm over here, and the object is over there. And Rinpoche tells us in this book that that's not accurate to the way things actually are. It's just the way we're habituated to see things. And meditation actually really helps us with seeing the self-image for what it is, in that it's more of this kind of trickster sort of, you know, illusion thing that lives within our perception, or is a part of our perception, is our perception really. And why do we want to free ourselves from the self-image? You know, some people might be like, oh, I like who I am. Why would I want to change that? But inevitably the self-image leads to grasping, it leads to selfishness, and it leads to judging experience, sorting experiences into different boxes. So this is good, this is bad. I like this, I don't like this. And when we're stuck in these rigid zones of experience, we are limiting ourselves. We're limiting ourselves to experiencing things only in this way, when there's actually a more vast and expansive way of experiencing. So essentially, we don't want to limit ourselves, right? You know, we want to be able to experience really the whole nourishment of like our true nature, if we can, if we're able to. And there's ways to slowly start to do that. And something that we have to realize is that the self-image is demanding. It can never be satisfied. You know, it's never, if your self-image is saying, I want a donut, then it gets a donut and it wants 5 more donuts, you know, or at least that's what mine, that's how I feel. And there's no way of actually satisfying it. So why do we want to keep trying to satisfy it when we know that it's not leading to any true nourishment? So we'll do another quick practice here. This is just a quick practice to work with, like, seeing the flexibility of the self-image. So once again, just get comfortable in your seat. And start by thinking of a memory. I think probably something recent, something that's happened recently, where you felt maybe dissatisfied or annoyed, and choose something a little bit lighter, you know? You don't have to choose like a really intense memory or something that brings up a lot of emotion, but just something that maybe happened, like maybe you're stuck in traffic and that was bothersome, or you know, something like that. And let it become very vivid and very real for you. Really feel it and really believe that this feeling is happening right now. And now just very quickly, like with the snap of your fingers, switch to a happy memory. It could be a place, a beautiful place in nature. It could be a really wonderful memory of something that's happened. It could be a fake memory that you're just creating just to elicit happy feelings, but just switch to that happy memory. And now switch back to the annoyed memory, the tense memory, and feel that again. Let that become alive for you again. And now switch back to the happy memory. Maybe you're somewhere in nature, the sunlight basking on your skin. Notice the difference. Rinpoche says here, by jumping mentally from positive to negative and then back again, it is possible to see that both are manifestations of awareness, and as such have a neutral energy that can be used in any way. So, in the same practice, he also tells us that we can tell ourselves, I am happy. If you're feeling unhappy, you can say, I am happy. Say it strongly to yourself, even if your feelings contradict you. Remember, it is your self-image that is unhappy, not you. It is possible to switch instantly to a happy, balanced attitude and to stay there by believing it. There is this choice when you are open to a positive attitude. Your whole inner quality can change even if the external conditions do not. So this practice basically gives us permission to, for one, choose our experience. We can remind ourselves that in moments where we're unhappy, we can question it. Is it really me that's feeling unhappy? Is this unhappy? Does this unhappiness need to be here? Do I need to be feeling this? And we don't need to punish ourselves. We don't need to, it doesn't need to turn into like, this is bad that I'm unhappy, or that like I need to change this, I need to fix this now. But it's more of a it's more experimental. Like next time you're feeling annoyed or unhappy, see if you can work with this a little bit. See if you can encourage your inner state to switch to positivity and just see what happens. And then maybe over time, it's not so much that's important that we be happy all the time, but what's more important about this practice is that flexibility of mind, is to understand that mind can be flexible and that the self-image is not a fixed thing. Our emotions are not fixed, but there's malleability there. And so we're going to do one last practice before we close out our time together. But I'm going to read a couple quotes. We're staying in the same vein of letting go of the self-image, letting go of the sense of I. And one thing that we get hung up on in meditation often is the sense that we are doing the meditation, that we are the meditator. And we get fixed into that role in our experience, and then it actually constricts our experience. So I'll read a couple quotes just to give us that we can marinate on for our meditation. In pure awareness, meditation is like the open sky, like empty space. There is no subject and no object. We have difficulty accepting the fact that the way to meditate is simply to let go of all preconceptions and just be. So I think it can be hard. I think we can all relate to this. It can be hard to sit down and just be, no goal, no expectation. We want to get somewhere. We want something to happen. That's just how our minds work. But Rinpoche is telling us that in pure awareness, meditation is like the open sky. So we can bring that feeling, that quality of the open sky, we can bring that into our meditation and just see what happens. So let's move into our last practice. Once again, just become comfortable in your seat. Maybe take a couple deep breaths just to clear yourself after the last practice. Allow your face to relax. Allow your eyes to relax. Allow your belly to relax. The breath becomes soft. And now just be, without any expectation, without any goals, without any projections of what meditation should be. And see if you can relax that sense of doing or that sense of the meditator meditating. And just be. Remember, everything is included. We're not rejecting anything. We're not pushing anything away. Just fully allowing, just being. Rinpoche says that within awareness, we become free from even the idea of meditation. You can start to let go of the practice, coming back to your breath, coming back to your body. And we'll close out the talk by dedicating the merit, chanting Om Ahum 3 times together. And for anyone who's not familiar, Om Ahum is just our corresponds to body, speech, and mind. And we dedicate the merit by giving all the positive energy that we've accumulated from this practice to all sentient beings. Or you can also imagine someone specific, if you'd like. Okay. Thanks everyone for coming to this talk, and everyone in person also. And yeah, I hope that y'all come to the next talks. Oh, I just wanted to mention quickly that I will be having a workshop on May 24th. It's on our website, the Nyingma Institute website, that just goes more deeply into this content. So we'll be doing more practices and yeah, just working with meditation. So if anyone's interested, it's on a Saturday.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Was that just recently published?
No, I don't know. Let me see when it says.
Is it, yeah, you said it's a compilation of other
This,
things you said in other books.
yeah, it says 2006, so it looks like,
No,
yeah, so it looks like this book came out in
I
2006.
may even have it, I'm just not sure of the title.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, bye everyone.
So are we having a little break in the